Ferrari is arguably the most famous team on the Formula One grid. It's won more world titles than any other side and, with Lewis Hamilton in the driver's seat for 2025, has one of the most successful racers in history at the helm. But the team's success isn't confined to the history books, and its form was improving in 2024. It picked up 5 race wins over the season and narrowly missed out on the Constructors' crown in Abu Dhabi. The team heavily invested into itself for the 2025 season, which is the final year of the current incarnation of Formula One, and should be the time when the playing field is at its most level. You could feel the hype building around Ferrari ahead of the 2025 opener in Australia. Race wins, pole positions, and even the prospect of Hamilton finally getting his 8th world title were all on the table. But then, when lights went out in Melbourne, things started to unravel. And that's been the story at Ferrari ever since. Excitement and promise, followed by disappointing race weekend after disappointing race weekend for Hamilton and his teammate Charles Leclerc. So what is really going on at Ferrari, and what chances does it have of turning around its fortunes? For Hamilton, the move from the Silver Arrows to the Scarlet team has, by his own admission, been harder than expected. He's had a new engine to master, new brakes to get on top of, and a new team to work with, and he's had to build a new relationship with race engineer Riccardo Adami after his 12-year stint with Pete Bonington at Mercedes. Hamilton said earlier this season, "I anticipated it would be very tough because I've joined a team before. I came in with a really open mind, I didn't know how tough it was going to be. It's as challenging as it could ever be on all fronts." Despite his struggles, the Brit has shown flashes of promise, winning the sprint in China and out-qualifying Leclerc at 3 Grand Prix so far this season. But on the whole, Hamilton hasn't had the raw pace we know him for, and, to be perfectly honest, neither has his partner across the garage. Leclerc, now in his 7th season with Ferrari, sits 25 points ahead of his teammate as of Canada. But despite clinching 3 podiums so far in 2025, he's still almost 100 points adrift of current championship leader Oscar Piastri. And just last month, Leclerc said he could not accept the current situation at Ferrari, which involves scrapping to make it out of Q2 and fighting for the lower end of the points come the checkered flag. Clearly, this is not what the team was targeting at the start of the season. So what's been going on recently for Ferrari? An upgrade package in Imola failed to bring the step forward that both drivers were hoping for, and Formula One's clampdown on flexing wings, which should have brought the teams more into line, didn't offer the opportunities that Ferrari was expecting. Hamilton went so far as to brand the clampdown a waste of money, as it couldn't clip McLaren's wings. And so, the struggles continue for Ferrari, and, after a podium finish for Leclerc in Spain, the team took yet another downward turn in Canada. The Monegasque struggled with turbulent air in the final part of qualifying, getting caught out by a snap at turn 7 that meant he could do no better than 8th place. Hamilton, meanwhile, had a more successful start to the weekend, putting his Ferrari in 5th. But all his hard work was undone in the race when he had a horrible crash with a groundhog in the Canadian Grand Prix. This meant he lost 20 points of downforce and slowly fell backwards through the pack. Hamilton said, "My qualifying was better, I was holding on up until the damage. I was just slow, I was just lacking a lot of performance, so it was over half a second. I was managing the tyres as well, so I was feeling optimistic, and then I didn't see it happen, but obviously I heard I hit a groundhog, so that's devastating." It wasn't just wildlife that was ruining the team's running, however, as poor strategy calls hampered Leclerc's chances, and a badly timed pit stop put Hamilton in traffic and meant that he lost time on his rivals. Taking a step back then, let's look at Ferrari's bigger picture. Away from the Canadian track, the team also tackled rumours of an exit at the top. Late last week, Italian media reported that team boss Fred Vasseur was on the way out because of the disappointing start to the 2025 season. The Frenchman shut those rumours down though, telling reporters in Canada that he was going on Monday morning to see the guys and say, "Guys, it's not true." Vasseur's drivers also came to his aid following the speculation, with Hamilton saying he was at Ferrari to work with the team but also with Fred. And Leclerc added that the trio shares the same vision, to try and get back to winning. To do this, Ferrari will soon face a tough choice. Does it continue to try and work on its 2025 racer with more upgrades and more money spent on the SF25? Or does it pivot to the new 2026 regulations and give up on this year's technical battle? Upgrades remain in the pipeline at Ferrari, with new parts expected by the Scuderia before the British Grand Prix. But while the team started 2025 thinking that the car would have greater development potential and room to improve, it has instead been stuck with aerodynamic updates that are slow-paced and ideas are getting scarce. Maybe it's time to admit that the SF25 is a Ferrari car that won't go down in history as a memorable one. If Ferrari does this, it may have to say goodbye to second in the constructors' standings, which is a fight that remains wide open with Mercedes and Red Bull, which admittedly only has one horse in this particular race. But change is needed. In recent years, Ferrari has already tried replacing its drivers, replacing its team principal, and overhauling its engineering department, and the race wins just still aren't coming its way. If 2025 can't provide the opportunity that Ferrari needs to take a step up the order, and given the team's 5th and 6th place finish in Montreal, it doesn't look like it can, then when will the side start looking elsewhere for opportunities? Vasseur, Leclerc and Hamilton are clearly committed to the team for the long term, with Leclerc having to deny departure rumours of his own this weekend. Maybe this means it's time for a united front that looks forward to the opportunities of 2026. This is a tact taken by other teams on the grid already, with Williams openly saying that all its resources are being put on F1's coming evolution. Giving up on the year with 14 races to go might sound dramatic, but pooling all of its resources on mastering the coming 2026 regulations may soon prove to be Ferrari's only option if it wants to return to the sharp end of Formula One.